is Yapetabi Ielosha Oshunyemi Akalatunde, and you are watching Got to Be Oshun television. I am on the road. I have some out of town ritual work that I have to do, some new African Vodun work that I have to do, so I am headed off to do that work. But there's been a video that's been bubbling up in my brain for about the past 2 weeks. And so, since I have this time to myself while I'm on the road, I decided to go ahead and make a video. Fortunately, because I'm on the road, I didn't have the opportunity to set up the thing that I normally do in the comments. So, there may be trolls or things of that nature. Please don't let that keep you from commenting if you have an actual comment to make. And we ignore that, right? We don't feed those. And when you don't feed them, they will soon go on back under the bridge from whence they came. So just setting that particular parameter, helping people to understand that that may be happening. But I want to dive right on in to this particular topic. And the topic that I'm going to talk about today is what people are calling the diaspora wars. I like the phone. Is the phone getting a little hot? I moved the phone to this side of the car in the hopes that that would keep it out of the direct sunlight. But it feels like it's getting a little warm. So if the phone overheats, the video will automatically cut off. So if the video cuts off, you guys will know that that's what occurred. Because it feels like it's getting warm to me. It feels warm. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what people are calling diaspora wars. And I want to give my perspective on what people are calling diaspora wars. So let's start with myself. I am an African American. I am a Black American. My lineage, as far as I am aware, is from Godwin Station, Tennessee, and Millington, Tennessee. My great great grandmother was born in Godwin Station, Tennessee, and was enslaved until she was 14 years old. And the Godwin Station plantation is the plantation that she was on. My grandmother married my grandfather, who was from Millington, Tennessee, and my mother was born in Millington, Tennessee. My grandmother and my grandfather were part of the Great Migration. Someone lied to him and told him that there were jobs waiting for Black men in the North, and they went there and there were no jobs. So he became the superintendent of an apartment building so that his wife and children would have a place to live. So that is my lineage as far as I know, right? And I say as far as I know for the same reason that diaspora wars are bullshit. And I know that diaspora wars are bullshit because I have been studying diasporic African history for the past almost 40 years, right? Since I was 17. When I was 17, or 16 actually, that was when I first started studying the diasporic history of Africans. And I will be 56 this year. So however many years that is, I think it's 40 years, but y'all know math is not my forte. And the truth of the matter is, when we think of the heinous human trafficking crime that enslaved diasporic Africans, that enslaved Africans and therefore created the diaspora that most of us are speaking of, there was back and forth between these areas that are now at war. So, and I feel, okay, first thing is, because I have been studying this for so long, and because my friend group and my you know, my collective, the people that I hang around, have been studying this too. I suffer from thinking that everybody knows this. The things that I'm about to say, I suffer from thinking everybody knows that. But I'm going to say it because a lot of people don't know it. So, when the human trafficking of enslavement began, Europeans created, or enslavers, these traffickers, they came up with a plan. They came up with a way to do it that they thought would be the most effective and particularly the most cost effective, because their original ways of doing it were failing. The first ways that they tried to do it were failing, meaning they were not making as much money off the bodies of our ancestors that they as they originally wanted. And so they created places that, well, they didn't create, they turned beautiful Taino and Carib and Kalinago lands into what they call seasoning islands. And what that means is that our ancestors would then be taken from West and Central Africa for the most part, and then taken to islands in the Caribbean. This was the trajectory for most of our ancestors, right? Even if you, like me, are African American, even if you were born in the United States of America to parents and grandparents who were and great grandparents who were born in the United States of America, most of our trajectory, I dare say the overwhelming number of us, our trajectory included seasoning islands of the Caribbean, right? So, two of the largest seasoning islands, not the largest in shape, but the largest in you helping enslavers and traffickers to use this system, were Barbados. Barbados was the first seasoning island. This was the first place where they decided to try this particular skill. Barbados was the first place that enslavers were able to make as much money as they had originally tried to make off of the cargo of the bodies of our ancestors. And so they saw Barbados as a success, right? So it became the first seasoning island. And what I mean by that was, because it was so successful in making a lot of money off of the bodies of trafficked Africans, our ancestors, it shined as a bright beacon. This is why they originally called it Bimshire, Little Britain. Bimshire, Little Britain, right? So anyway, first seasoning island was Barbados. So if you are African American whose grandparents and great grandparents and parents were born in the United States of America, you have ancestors that probably are Barbadian or Bajan, right? As the colloquial term is. More than likely, you have ancestors that lived and were taken to and procreated, and a faction of your family still remains in Barbados, right? That is highly likely. Or so if you are from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, or Northern Florida. Even more so, because between our Gullah Geechee people here in the United States and our Bajan brothers and sisters in Barbados, there was a back and forth. We would go back and forth between those two places. So if your grandparents, great grandparents, and parents are from either of those places, it is almost guaranteed that you are also Bajan, right? You have ancestry and connection to Barbados, right? The other very large and very active seasoning island, we should all know because we are all very much drawn to it. We love to go there. We feel good when we're there. It's one of our favorite places to visit. We love the music. We love the culture. We love the people. We love the food. You should know that this is a place that your ancestry is from because we love it so much. African Americans love Jamaica. Jamaica was a big seasoning island because it's one of the largest, places in that particular part of the world. Jamaica, and of course, the other two that were very big are Cuba and Brazil. Now Brazil is not an island, I'm aware of that, but I'm letting you know how this particular system of trafficking works. So Cuba, Brazil, Jamaica, Barbados. These places and others, these aren't the only ones I'm naming, the main ones. Take the time to learn your history, research, study, and not chat GPT, but actual research and study, right? These were places that West Central Africans were taken before they came to the United States. So the first thing that is so ignorant about diaspora wars is that the vast majority of us actually have ancestry in the Caribbean. Actual Caribbean ancestry. The vast majority of us. The vast majority of us, somewhere in the Caribbean, was a stop for our ancestors before they came to the United States, which wasn't even the United States at those times, during those times. But that's the history of the vast majority of us. I'm gonna hold it because it's still getting hot. I think the sun is still on it, so I'm gonna hold on to it so that it doesn't go out and we can continue the video. That's the first thing. Second, I'm not to engage in an argument over who had the best oppressor. Let me say that again. Because I'm not a white supremacist, and you guys know I don't even use the term white supremacy. It's not a term that I use because it's not a real term. But because I'm not a white supremacist, because I do not follow the culture of white masculinist imperialism, that is the term that I use because that's the accurate term and the real thing that's happening and the real system that is holding us hostage. But because I'm not one of those people, I'm not going to argue with you about who had the best oppressor. Oh, my oppressor was better than yours because we were able to keep more African traditions. Oh, my oppressor was better than yours because we now, when we were forced to speak these foreign languages, we speak it in a more beautiful way. Oh, my oppressor was better than yours because when they